Pragmatism as a philosophical tradition began in the United States around 1870. Charles Sanders Peirce, generally considered to be its founder, later described it in his pragmatic maxim: consider the practical effects of the objects of your conception. Then, your conception of those effects is the whole of your conception of the object. Pragmatism rejects the idea that the function of thought is to describe, represent, or mirror reality. Instead, pragmatists consider thought an instrument or tool for prediction, problem-solving and action. Pragmatists contend that most philosophical topics, such as the nature of knowledge, language, concepts, meaning, belief, and science, are all best viewed in terms of their practical uses and successes. The word pragmatism, as a piece of technical terminology in philosophy, refers to a specific set of associated philosophical views originating in the late 19th century. However, the phrase is often confused with pragmatism in the context of politics, which refers to politics or diplomacy based primarily on practical considerations, rather than ideological notions, and with a non-technical use of pragmatism in ordinary contexts referring to dealing with matters in one's life realistically and in a way that is based on practical rather than abstract considerations.
Pragmatism was created by Charles Sanders Peirce. He lived from September 10, 1839 to April 19, 1914. Peirce was a major philosopher and published books in the areas of chemistry, history of philosophy, and philosophy of religion. Peirce's career was in physical science, but he mostly wanted to study logic and how people thought. The idea of pragmatism was that you could assess how truthful something was based on how successful it appeared to be. Today, this practice is not a good method because you can easily make something appear on something else, but that does not mean that it is there. An example is a projector and a screen. Television has people appear on screen, but they are not in the room with you at the moment. William James, a friend of Peirce, once said this about pragmatism: "Pragmatism's only test of probable truth is what works best in the way of leading us, what fits every part of life best, and combines with the collectivity of experience's demands, nothing being omitted." This quote from James means that pragmatism tests the truth of things and then uses them to ascertain what we should believe and what we should not believe. If something fits into our life, that means that it is good for us to understand and teach. If it does not fit into our worldview and life, then it must not be true because we cannot see that. Pragmatism mostly focuses on problem solving using science. The process of problem solving takes a lot of time. Science was how Peirce solved other problems that occurred in his life at this time. He thought that the reality around us has problems that needed to be solved, and the only way to do this was through science. The idea of pragmatism in education was that it should stress function and experience. Teaching kids how to function with other students around them and lean on them for support and help was a way to increase our level and skill of learning. Experience, however, teaches kids to learn from the past and figure out problems to solve using their past knowledge. Both function and experience can teach students the best methods to solve a difficult situation. Peirce knew that education should include both of these aspects so that in the future they'd be able to apply their knowledge and either help one another or remember what they did in the past, and then solve the problem based on other people's or their own experience. Pragmatism is not just about education learning opportunities, but also about defining and finding truth. Part of the definition of pragmatism is finding out the truth of beliefs and theories based on the success of it. This means that pragmatism was a trial and error type of idea. If a theory worked well over a long period of time, then it could be defined as true, and everyone would have to listen that it was true because of how much it succeeded. Finding out the success of a belief, though, can be quite challenging. Finding out success of Christianity is virtually impossible, because we cannot see people go to heaven or travel there ourselves while still being alive. This is where pragmatism has some faults that need to be fixed. Peirce himself once said, "The pragmatist knows that doubt is an art which has to be acquired with difficulty." This means that acquiring doubt about a certain belief or theory has to be done with thorough thought and explanation to make sure that the truth of something is valid and understandable. It is not easy to check to see if something is true or not, but on the contrary, quite difficult. Overall, pragmatism believes that reality is a process. All we can do is our best and live in the present, looking back on past mistakes to help us understand problems and difficulties in our life and ways to solve them. Peirce's idea was to use science and logic to help everyone understand that there are ways to solve all problems. We should learn from Peirce and use his ideas of function and experience to solve problems that are in everyday life and ones that are not as well.